Okay. Okay. Is it good? Am I good? Am I live? Am I live? Hmm? Okay. Stream quality is good. It says it's good. I'm just trying to make sure. Am I am I even streaming right now? Okay, hold on a second. Need to see, make sure. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. I am live. Okay. So, hi guys. Today I am back with another video. Okay. So basically, today's video is just as it's pretty much titled. Um, will Asta pretty much die either by the end of Black Clover or just at some point in Black Clover? I know there's a black screen right now. Just hold on a second. This photo has to like load, I guess. It's just doing that for some reason. But hold on a second. Just a second. Okay. So, it's okay. It should be up. Okay. Oh, wow. That's. I thought it'd be bigger. Yeah. Okay. We can zoom in right here. Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. Okay. So today I was pretty much wondering, like I'm on episode I think 96 of Black Clover, and I was thinking, okay, if stuff is going on and happening throughout Black Clover, some stuff just is questionable, right? But I'm gonna jump into it. Just let me go ahead, change the thumbnail really quick. Bam, is just about done. Boom, hush Obito. Let's see, let's see, let's see. Hold on a second. I know I'm taking my little sweet time, but still. Okay, so it's working. Okay, so basically, looking at Black Clover as of right now, it's a question as to whether or not Asta will actually die within the series. Now, of course, like I said, I'm on episode like 96. I know, like currently we're on like 120 something, 130 something, something like that, right? We're pretty close to the manga as it is, and I don't think we're near even done to being close with the series. But it is a question that I have as of now that we see. So to start off, the question that I have to raise is about Asta's what you call it? His basically his grimoire, basically. Crap. I can't do it. Can I do it now? Yeah, okay, thank you. Asta's grimoire. So as we know that grimoires in the Black Clover universe are pretty much tied to the person's like, life basically, right? And that's just loosely putting it. So well, that's pretty much. Well, hold on. This is pretty much like just a photo right here. This is just like of a random grimoire. I know It's a live stream. I just have pretty much photos that I brought up just to help my case, basically. But we also saw, as evidence that they're tied to your life when Fuegoleon was pretty much on the brink of death, at least when the Eye of the Midnight Sun actually did attack the Clover Kingdom. His whatchamacallit started to fade away. Wait, hold on a second. Let me go ahead and his his grimoire actually started to fade away. So I screenshotted this while I was watching it, and I was like, okay, so yeah, boom, yeah, right. So it is tied to your life, but that's also one question I have to raise about actual like secrets of the grimoires. But I'm gonna bring that up later by the end of the video. What we're trying to talk about now is whether or not Asta pretty much how his life is exactly tied to his grimoire. So the further what I'm talking about is we know that when Asta first actually like the story started out right on like episode one, duh, right? We saw that him and Yuno were actually brought to the church. They were brought to the church, dropped off at the doorstep. Don't know by who, don't know exactly, what time of the day, but I mean, we know, yeah, they were babies. And basically, they grew up. Asta then developed magic, and, of course, developed wind magic. Right. Bam. But exactly why that actually happened, we don't actually know why. In fact, well, well, I mean, I kind of do, but I kind of don't. Okay, so basically, what I'm saying is, it looks like how stuff is explained in the story here, where the Queen of Witches, when they went into the place where Vanessa came from, she said that really Asta really wasn't all that special because she thought that he was somewhat like along the lineage of the elves that Licht and stuff were a part of. Of course, duh, they were slaughtered. But it looks like she said that no, it was just like a birth defect. That he just so happened to have a birth defect that like he just could not use magic. And it's something, of course, dealing with like genetics and bloodstream related, right? And why I brought that up is basically of how in the world, like why in the world would he? If that's the birth defect, sorry, I'm just kind of jumbled right now. If that is in fact a birth defect, um, well, basically, does that mean that somehow that's how the pretty much, I guess, the demon entity that was seen? Of course, the demon skull also trains on. He used to train under like pretty much darn near every day, as it seems. But as we saw with like Lick's spell that he actually foretold unto the world, that he actually, it's like that he made like a demon like entity appear. And what happened was that it pretty much, yes, it attacked the town, all this stuff, and did all this stuff, but that's one big plot loophole that has never been at least addressed, at least so far as my knowledge, right? Because going back and looking, when Asta demon form, I think in episode 83, when it made its first appearance, I think it was 63 or 83, whichever one. When it made its first appearance, we saw that when it leaked off of it, and let me zoom in right here, just right here. Too much. Okay. Looking at this, we can clearly see that, like, of course, you can say, okay, well, that's the anti magic energy that's flowing through Asta, right? But look at how it interacted with the ground. I had video of it, but I just didn't. I thought that'd be like too much. Like it's like taken like from the episode, so I didn't. It was like a screen recording that I did, but it's clearly interacting with the ground here. At first, I thought it was like, oh no, that's just shadow. No, no. I went and played the episode back, and it was literally like moving like into the ground. It was like interacting with the ground, and that leads me to believe, well, could this anti magic? Of course, they called the sword that he was holding the Demon Dweller sword. So of course, he can even tap into this form even when using the other one. So if I think it's pretty much just mainly tied to the grimoire itself, probably. But does that mean that whatever he has is still energy, right? That energy that he has, that it's anti magic is still a form of energy that he does have. But does that mean that it can actually interact with, if not necessarily living things, but also just the ground itself? And which further leads me to the question, as we already know that this demon entity itself was a spell, right? It was a spell cast by Licht, and we're like, okay, so if that was a spell, right? And we don't really know what necessarily happened to Licht, because it seems like I'm on episode 96. What happened on episode 96 is that we saw that he finally got all the stones, put it in the stone statue. Bam, the elf people who were basically reincarnated, somehow into the human race. He actually reincarnated them either by using the third eye he implanted in onto them. Like, well, we saw how those little buds that got reincarnated, but it looks like he actually did a reincarnation thing where they got reincarnated into people. But some people he had to do it like manually for, I guess, his closest friends. But if that was the case, Licht, I'm not sure how. It looks like he was still alive at some point, but that leads me to the thing where if how we saw that Fuegoleon's life was fading away, and so what Hush Obito and his grimoire was fading away as well. Doesn't that necessarily mean that the grimoire, of course, what does tied to your life, but shouldn't the spell also be tied to it as well? That would mean that Lick is pretty much like licked himself. Well, okay, sorry. Patry went ahead and did, instead of Lick, Patry, the other guy who for some reason looks like Lick, or at least has Lick's face, he used the spell to bring everybody back because he was for some reason put into vengeance, right? So basically, that would mean that Licht, who was a spellcaster when all that went down, right? He had to have been still alive at some point for this skull to even be here because spells and grimoires alike get destroyed when you die. So how is the skull even here in the first place? And going further with my theory as to if it can actually interact with like living things or the ground itself. Hold on. Could this have literally like basically like full on, seeped into the ground and started its own black clover? Now watch this. Watch this. Oh wait, I clicked too fast. I have this stuff. Watch this. Look at this. I think it was opening 4 or 5 that they flashed it really quick. Opening 4 or 5, they flashed it real quick. But we literally see a literal black clover among regular clovers in the ground. And this led me to believe that the demon entity itself literally put itself into like maybe some sort of black clover, and it waited for who knows how long there has been since the first Wizard King had even been there, right? Boom. So basically, it furthers the question as to maybe Asta himself probably was the it furthers me to think that maybe he is more important than just having a birth defect. I think that birth defect was there as just an accident that did just happen. But the fact that Asta not only he remember when he went to that Grimoire Tower, he didn't get that Grimoire there. It was only until later that it just showed up out of the blue, out of nowhere, which leads me to believe that he's actually had this grimoire since like birth, probably, right? Because in fact, I think that is also somewhat tied to his emotion or something. Because I think at his lowest point, that's really when it actually like showed up. Because throughout this whole time, I also thought that at least when he gets his grimoire, bam, he's gonna get like magic, right? And it didn't help that when that guy was like beating up on on like the first or second episode, maybe third, I forgot which episode that was, that it didn't help that he couldn't do anything. He was being picked on by the guy, and that's when the grimoire showed up. So it furthers like I just believe that this black clover and like the grimoire itself had been with Asta this whole time. That it just didn't awaken until he really got to his lowest point until he needed it. Especially since we saw that when his demon form like appeared, that it really wanted to like Asta like giving the temptation just let him take over. So that's probably kind of furthering what I kind of think. But besides that, let me go back to the photos to like continue my point basically. Let's see. Okay. Now, what does this mean for Asta as of right now? Or at least the demon form, right? Going back to the demon form, I do think that the demon form thing, I think like in the intro it said that the demons almost destroyed the world, but what we saw Licked when he sent it upon the world the first time around, how do we know that he didn't send more than one? Right? Because he had light magic as well, and somehow he was able to do this for like forbidden spell. Now when Veto had went into his third eye state, he was like speaking some backwards talking thing, right? And I'm thinking that Lick actually like the demon, like those were actually his swords, right? Those are supposed to be like Lick's swords, and I'm guessing maybe his grimoire at some point, right? If those were his swords, and there's a demon in those swords, then what does that mean? I think he actually got in touch with some type of demon entity itself, and I don't know. I think it just latched on to him. I don't know. Maybe he quote unquote made a deal with it. I don't know. I'm not sure what Lick did, but for that to be forbidden magic, that wasn't even one of his magic attributes. Now, one thing I do want to ask is why if it was like more than one demon, because in the intro it said that it said demons had almost destroyed the world. So with that leads to say that there was actually more than one. Plus, looking at its palms, you can see that it has red right here, blue right here, red, and then yellow, which probably means it has more than it actually can use magic, or if it can't use magic, it can either throw it back at you, which is probably why it's tied to that sword, that the second sword that Asta got in that dungeon. It probably can absorb magic, but then I also throw like redirect it right back at you. But also look at the ground right here. Look at this huge city that it's encumbered by. Well, not encumbered by, that it's on top of, right? The only thing I can think of to like relate it to would be like the Nine Tails attack in Naruto, right? You already know that this is a pretty huge town, and further to show you just how big it is, now, of course, I'll have to zoom in to really show you. That's demon right there. Look at all this huge town. Look at all that, and look back at look at Hodge Village. Obito, if you do not get down, dang, look at Hodge Village. There's nothing. There's literally nothing here. So could the Wizard King have actually like defeated more than one demon? Because I feel like that's something we always gloss over when watching the show is that Hodge Village is relatively small. Like there's barely anything here. And even if well, we even saw that further going into the intro that the Wizard King pretty much defeated him, not necessarily on the spot, but he killed him. There were still plenty of buildings left. And even saying, oh, he destroyed a lot of them, he destroyed a line of buildings. Now, yes, you see some on fire, but get a water hose, call the fire department, something, right? I mean, there are people who have water attribute grimoires, right? But look at this. He destroyed this big chunk, but that's not the rest of this huge city. Like, I know it's got to be more than this city, right? That's a lot of city to even cover in the first place. But that furthers me to believe that not only was there one, but there were multiple demons, and this just so happened to be one of the ones that Licht himself wanted to like reincarnate, if anything. Maybe this was the one that was actually lashed on to him, and this demon is another demon altogether. In fact, I don't even know what these things on his hands are. It could be the demon that maybe Asta has. I don't know. Probably not. Most likely not. He's probably not the only one that even has one, right? For one to even exist in the first place, there has to be more, right? So going back to that, I do think that whoever, I don't know how us Obito, please get down. Anyway, anyway, so basically, whoever dropped Asta and off, I think maybe they just tricked through the forest at some point. They came across this thing, and I guess that because of the fact that it couldn't latch onto someone with like magic, there hasn't been an anomaly. At least I don't think there has been where anyone else was just without magic, right? I mean, until like they trekked through the forest, came through, bam, Asta got it latched on to Asta, and then bam, right, he was infected with it, and then it just inhabited him. And perhaps Asta probably was the actual reincarnate of Licht, because it seems now that one of the points was that I guess Patry was trying to do some type of, he was trying to follow up with trying to do some type of Rene Rebirth type of crap, right? Because that's kind of what it looked like. Like Licht, of course, did the spell, but Patry went forth with it to continue the whole thing. But it looks like that now Licht himself is alive, and that's further than the question. Well, why does Asta have his swords, and could that also be his grimoire? And you're like, well, that wouldn't make sense, right? How would that actually be his grimoire? Da 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 da, right? But we haven't seen. Okay, let me explain it like this. If those were his swords in the first place, I think that for the first part, he has like sword magic, right? And they look just like Asta's demon dweller sword in the first place. They literally look like it, but just light. And it looks like he actually had like an actual like pair of swords to go with it. So I think that the demon itself literally just attached itself to the sword in the first place, and bam, it just can't use magic. I mean, well, not use magic. It's anti-magic now, and it was a perfect fit for Asta to just have a birth defect where he just could not use magic in the first place, and bam, now you have something where it's literal anti-magic can flow through Asta. This is probably the only person who actually has his actual physical like attribute. You know, at least that's what I kind of think. But there's one catch to it. There's one catch to all this that I have to bring up. Oh, this was like further showing Hodge Village just how empty it really is. There's one attribute that I gotta say that I do. Oh wait, hold on. That where I think that this could be somewhat leading to somewhere Asta's death, or if not his death, him not using the Black Clover Grimoire at all, the five leaf Grimoire. Now, as we saw with the Queen of Witches, she thought he would lose consciousness. He managed to control the thing. Anti-magic energy constantly flows through the demon sword and into Asta. And as we know that the grimoire is pretty much tied to your life at this point, right? But she also said she accelerated the flow of power and removed the limits on its output, which means that Asta was subconsciously even further basically limiting himself. Well, not probably genetically, who knows, but he couldn't even tap into even this anti magic's full power until the Queen of Witches gave him a blood transfusion. But watch this. She gave him a blood transfusion, something that emits magic itself. Now you're like, okay, duh, we get it, right? It emits magic. But like, listen to it. She gave him a blood transfusion, right? A blood transfusion. Blood, when it transfuse, it literally has to bond with the body. It has to bond with the blood, the DNA type. Now you're like, okay, she does blood magic. She could probably just make it do all of that. But the literal blood magic, it literally contains magic, which means that bonded with Asta, right? So could that literally mean that a smidge of Asta can literally actually use magic now? I mean, that's a tough question to really answer slash ask, but I mean, it's literally there now. And that also furthers the question of that she somewhat not necessarily unblocked his birth defects, but for that to actually bond with him, because you already know if blood transfusion does not work with the same blood type, you would pretty much be dead, right? So that means it had to have bonded with the rest of his freaking like blood, right? And I think why Asta has just not noticed that he actually might be able to use some extent to magic is that the sword and the grimoire alike are constantly feeding on the magic that's within him. Each time it pretty much boils up to a point, it gets sucked right back out. And Asta keeps using the sword. It's not like he just keeps putting it down. It's the only power that he has at the moment, or at least he thinks he has. But looking at it, does this mean that without the grimoire, Asta, if does that mean that if like let's say Asta before he even awakened the grimoire at any point, right? Does that mean if Asta have ever gotten hurt and he got in a blood transfusion, could that mean that he could just have just been able to use magic at that point, where all of his blood, or if not just some of his blood, were able to output like mana? Now that's a stretch. It's a far stretch, right? But it kind of makes sense. What else did she just unblock within him? Like remove the limits on his output, yeah, for the anti magic, but that was that's the whole point of his flaw that he couldn't use magic in the first place. Yeah, he could use well, he couldn't really necessarily quote unquote use the anti magic, but what exactly did she remove the limits on? That has to be it. I mean, that blood transfer, that transfusion has to mean something. Maybe Asta can use magic now. Maybe not at a good limit. He probably can't use much of it, but he might be able to use some of it. And plus, I don't know. I think he can use magic. So why it furthers me to ask if he will actually have to like die or not, or at least just stop using the grimoire. Basically, if Licht, like the real Licht, is like alive now, right? Wouldn't that mean that he would have to get the grimoire that Asta has? Those are his swords. That's basically his grimoire, if so to speak. I guess maybe. Cause how they were, maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't know. I don't know if that's his grimoire or not. I think it is because the swords are in there. Bam. But perhaps even Asta could even be able to use light magic as well. Because I can't say I have seen a picture online where it was showing Asta's sword, the one that actually has like those little sparkles in it, the little stars on it, where it actually was like lighting up, and I'm like, wait, that kind of looks like light magic. Now I don't know. Like I said, I'm on episode 96. He might be able to use light magic now. I don't know. Maybe he can absorb it, and it's just a natural affinity because his grimoire calls for it. That could be at Lick's like actual grimoire, and maybe it got affected in some way because there has never been a five like leaf grimoire ever. At least I don't think it has been. So maybe, right? But by that, if Asta's life is both tied to the grimoire and Licht, to defeat Licht, because it looks like Licht is just way too powerful for its own good. He might be, he might not be. I'm not sure. I'm not there yet. He just woke up from the episode that I'm on, right? But how all the stuff that he can do right now, does that mean that if Asta just simply just dies, wouldn't it kind of be over with? I mean, yeah, you got the other elves to deal with, but at the same time, Licht would be dead. Now, granted, he's the only one that actually has, I think, that Forsaken or Forbidden Magic. Now, he's gifted the other people the Midnight Suns, the three eyes of the Midnight Sun. He's gifted them an eye so that way they could use it. But besides that, Licht is probably one of the like big problems, and Patry, I guess maybe I don't know. So further, also asking that, or could like Asta could just simply if he just stops using the grimoire, could he just like now? Granted, the grimoire gives you spells, but could Asta just use magic at that point, right? Could he just be able to like use just basic magic? Now it's not all grand, but it's the thing that he's wanted this whole time. Now he can fly now because of his little demon form thing, but he can't like do all the other stuff that other people can. He's really wanted magic his whole life, and this might be the only chance that he actually gets to actually get it. And further going back to this, of course, this whole thing of how all this reincarnation stuff like appeared in the story, I think Hodge Village is just much more important than how they're letting on because it just doesn't make sense. The little loophole or plot hole, what do you want to call it? Like, look at this huge city. This is a huge city. Not all of it was even destroyed. That it plays in every intro. But Hodge Village is just like it's out in the boonies. And you telling me that someone went all the way out in the boonies to put a whole statue of the first Wizard King up there out in the boonies? Like seriously, who would do that? Now, granted, you're like, oh, well, it's just to congratulate the Wizard King, but people didn't even know that this skull was even here. Some people really didn't, unless people who've actually been here. People didn't even know it. So who even put this statue? And like, it's kind of big already as it is. Like, look at this. Now it's not huge, but it's kind of huge. It's like it's at least as tall as the church. Like looking at that statue, that's a big statue. So somebody built that. But I think Hodge is much more important than it seems in the whole grand scheme of things. Is because in the surrounding like villages that were around Hodge and Hodge itself, it was pretty easy for them to get this grimoire tower to get a grimoire. And you would think of how royals, how they think of the peasants and commoners, like they don't even like them. So why make it so easy for them to even get a grimoire in the first place, this close to Hodge Village? If Hodge is the same village or like city in the intro with that other like with that demon that was alive, then that means that somebody just did not continue building. Right? That's the only thing I can think of. Now you're like, well, they probably just want to give everybody a chance to get a grimoire. But they didn't even want peasants or commoners to even be in the magic knights. That's why they killed off Zara. And his son Zora was mad, right? So it wouldn't make sense for even to like give them the slightest chance to even get a grimoire in the first place. I think that Hodge Village is just much more important than what it seems or how people are thinking that it is. Now, for the final like theory that I have in this video, like I said, go back to the like beginning of the video if you want to watch it and this and all that, right? The final theory that I have is basically saying I think that there is something seriously up with either not if not Sister Lily herself, then pretty much the sisters. Now, I want you guys all to remember this, like literally remember this. You remember on what was it, the first or second, maybe third episode, they had all little flashbacks where Sister Lily was reading them the story about the Wizard King and how he defeated the demon and all this stuff, right? And it just sounded too good to be true. And how it's kind of leading that on with how whoever attacked the elves, right? I don't even think it was a Wizard King. Part of me thinks it was Raya because he can use copy magic, and he even said it himself that he was a liar, he was disloyal. That's just me. It might not even be true, but that's beside the point. This is gonna blow some of your minds, hopefully. But like, watch this. The Wizard King's like story, the first Wizard King story is just too good to be true. It just really sounds like a huge fairy tale. Like, oh, he just killed the big bad demon that just destroyed the world, and that's it. He killed them all, right? They didn't come to the point, and they just dubbed the Wizard King. Like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Like, I mean, it just sounds too much like a fairy tale. But this is the kicker. When she was reading the story to Asta and back when they were in the church when they were little, look at this. Let me zoom in. What is that? What is that? I saw this. I went back and watched it. I have video of it, but I didn't want to show it on the stream or anything. She is holding a grimoire that the story was read out of. And you might be like, well, that might be her grimoire. She could have had some storytelling type of thing. This isn't her grimoire. This is not her grimoire. Watch this. This is her grimoire. It's a 3-leaf clover. And plus it has blue and it's a whole different design on it. And that begs the question, whose grimoire was she using? Right here. Whose grimoire is this? Now, this could be some type of link to like Sister Lily herself, because not only is she in Hodge Village, but that close to like the demon like skull. But granted, it's a stretch. But further, when I give you enough evidence, you're gonna be like, oh wow, that's a big plot hole. Like maybe this is like some type of theory or something going on, right? She read a story out of a grimoire. Not only does that seem like how did you get a story out of a grimoire in the first place? How? I thought only spells were supposed to be in there, and it was a picture story. But that also seems to be that might be part of the spell that maybe Lick was probably doing, and it begs the question: why does Sister Lily have this? Why does she have this random grimoire out of nowhere? And plus, when I was watching the episode, she did like it was like some weird pause that she did after closing the book, and you just sat there for a minute, and it was only interrupted by Asta after he started talking. Like go back and watch it. It looked weird, and I was like, "What the freak? Why they pause like that for?" Right? You might be like, "Well, maybe all the books have a clover on it." Well, one that wouldn't make sense. That would have to only grimoires have them, like, or you would think so. And you were like, "Okay, well, maybe all books have clovers on them, and that's just it, right?" No, that's not it, buddy. That is not it, buddy. Watch this. Remember the episode or the series of episodes when Asta lost feeling and well he could not use his arms anymore, right? So Gosh and Gordon went to the library and look at this. This book that he has. Wait, can I zoom in? Yes. This book does not have a clover on it. It does not have a clover. Not even on the little rim of the book. It doesn't have one. I mean, that's just like not even this one. Wait, is that the same? Wait. I just wait. Is that the same one? Hold on. No. Okay, it's not. These books do not have clovers on them. Now, granted, yes, there's a clover there. It's a library. We already know it's a clover kingdom, right? But as it stands, we know that regular books do not have clovers on them. And I had actually like paused for a few times just to find like the exact scene. I had to go back and watch like the exact episode that I'd actually noticed this on. But the books in the libraries, they do not have clovers on them. So that further leads me to believe that she was not only using someone else's grimoire, but whose grimoire is this? And it would explain the awkward pause and probably why Asta has like some weird attraction to Sister Lily, right? Like she's like an adult, or even if she was like 18, 17 or 18 by the time that they were babies, that would mean she was like over like 30 right now, right? Now he could marry her. There's no problem sometimes. Well, depending on how old folks are, there's not necessarily a problem. Of hopefully, of course, Asta would be 18 because that's assault. But basically, I mean, why does she have a grimoire? Why? I mean, whose is this in the first place? And like I said, this is not her grimoire. And that you can go back and watch it if you want. This isn't her grimoire. That's her grimoire. It was just kind of weird to me that I had actually noticed that. So I think there's a whole nother scheme of things going on, especially since Julius, like the current Wizard King, he said that, well, he thought it was licked, but it's actually Patry or Patry, however you want to say it. He has enough power to already cover the whole country and kill everyone. You saw that. But why didn't, if that was his only goal, he could have just been done that. What's the other goal? It's this whole Wizard First Wizard King thing is a whole dupe. They are duping everyone, including the people who watch this show. Like seriously, it's mind-boggling. But they're trying to trick us and they're showing us where it was a light-based attack that attacked the elves and this and that, right? But that doesn't make sense. How? Like, not only was the first Wizard King not even there at the wedding, he should have been because his sister was getting married. But I don't think that was him. It was either Raya or it was either Petri or maybe Lick himself. I don't know because it's kind of weird how even though Petri is inside Vengeance's body, that he himself is actually using light magic. When I thought that it was Licked using light magic, the first Wizard King could use light magic. How did Patrick get light magic in the first place? That's a big theory that's being blown wide open here. They are duping everyone. And I mean everyone. They gotta be. They just gotta be. I mean, I don't know. It's a big theory. It's a really, really, really big one. but I think it's worth digging into. They might follow up with it. I don't know, but I had seen somewhere. I think I accidentally read that. I think that Lick's grimoire is somewhat connected to Asa's. I think so. That's why. But it would make sense. But I'm not sure. But that's besides the point of this. This is a big theory. I think they're duping everyone into believing that the Wizard King did this and all that. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not sure, but this is a huge theory. I don't know why she has a grimoire. But that was pretty much it. I kind of think that maybe Austin would die by the end of the story, or he could actually use magic now fully, and he doesn't even need the swords. Or if he doesn't, he probably would still use them, but he probably doesn't necessarily quote unquote need to, since he actually has magic now. He just doesn't notice that he has magic now. But yeah, that was today's stream. I hope you guys liked it. I had fun with this because it was just some cool digging that I had to do about some theories about stuff. And I really want to get back to like the roots of my channel because of the fact that I know that I've been posting a lot of like gaming content on my channel. And it just was not fair, especially when I started out talking about video games, anime, and the sorts. And now I'm on really only like posting like video game content. So I'm really gonna like halt on the video game content, and for right now, I'm just gonna do like more anime stuff because I've been working, and I was mainly trying to go ahead and get working, but now I'm working, and now I actually have time when I get home to actually make these anime content instead of just playing the game when I get home, uploading a video because I thought a cool moment happened or a cool match happened. I think I'll do more, but I'm still gonna like probably upload some fighting games though, because Tekken is still quote unquote like it's still anime. Because after they made I think like the first 2 or 3 games, they turned it into like an anime movie, so it's anime. But basically, yeah. Um, the next video I'm gonna do regarding anime is I'm going to go ahead and talk about the current anime like of probably the 2000s and up like to now as why